That's what
Are
I'm
you
saying.
just saying we should start
Yo,
the show?
are we not on the show?
I mean,
Is
we're
this
on.
Is this not the show?
Wait, this is not the show.
Wait,
Oh,
I
God.
thought we were done because I'm about to leave. I've got dinner plans.
I mean, the show. I mean, you know when the show starts. You know when it. You know it starts when the music starts.
I wasn't gonna give you the cue.
I was really hoping that you would line me up for the cue.
Hey, Blevins, when does the show start?
It starts right now. Saucy Mailman, the greatest assist man in the business, throwing me the alley-oop, and I slam it down right there.
I gotta say, that's the best intro we've ever had ever to the show.
It definitely is. That was great.
I will say it was hilarious how everyone kind of looked like the intro to maybe a 90s sitcom during that. We're just like smiling at the camera, you know, kind of do like a small little gesture.
Yep, it's perfect.
Yes, it was perfect. And you are all perfect, everyone listening out there in podcast land. Welcome to Runeterrable Radio, episode number 8. I am your host, Blevins. Joining me, as always, is Saucy Mailman. What's up, buddy?
That's me. How's it going?
We have a very special guest today as well, Casanova.
Yo, what is up? What is up, my dudes?
How's it going?
Oh, not too bad. You know, hitting that grind.
The grind. The grind.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because we have something to actually grind. It's
Yeah,
opening
that's
week,
true.
baby.
That's true.
We got some playtime under our belts. The game is out in the open and it's not going away.
Yeah.
It is great. It is grand.
Something crazy. I don't know if you guys have felt this. So the game has been out as at the time of us recording, not even a full week now, right?
Yes.
And it feels like it's been longer, but like watching people's discussions online talking about it as if it's been out for like months and months and months. Like, I can't believe this bug. I'm like, it's been 4 days. Calm down. But I think it's just because it's an open beta, but it feels so polished. Like it seems like a released product.
It does.
That's very true. It does feel like it's a game that is done and should be done, and there shouldn't be problems. And then there are issues. So like, I get why people like rage, but it is you contextualizing it like that makes it very funny. Because I've heard people say all of that stuff, that same stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's 4 days into a beta. Like, chill out.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, I've already had the conversation a bunch of times of like, oh well, they're not doing this. There's no tournament mode. I'm like, bro, how old is Hearthstone? And there's no tournament mode. They're not going to do it. So, but we'll be talking a lot about the game, the meta, our impressions, all of that stuff. But first, let's just do a little intro of Casanova. So for those of you out there who are unfamiliar with Casanova, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy?
All right. Well, I'm Casanova. Thanks for having me on. I'm a ex-professional Heroes of the Storm player. Before it was brutally killed off by Blizzard Entertainment.
Rip.
And since then, I've just been kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to kind of do moving forward. Right now, I commentate TFT Fight Night on Giant Slayer TV.
Oh yeah.
As well as just kind of making any other content that I can find. Right now, I'm playing in the CCL over on Heroes Hearth, which is a Heroes of the Storm kind of tournament where it's like an invitational for a bunch of personalities to come play some fun matches. So I do that on the side, but primarily right now I'm streaming Legends of Runeterra and focusing on trying to return to competitive gaming with this game. I'm hoping that it does well, and I'm just, keeping my head down and grinding it out, trying to get really, really good at this game.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're all doing, except for me. I'm not actually trying to get good at the game. I'm failing horribly. I'm not trying, and I'm failing. Unless it's expeditions. Expeditions. Saucy, how many 7-win expeditions am I up to
I've been
right
keeping
now?
track of how many 7-wins expeditions Blevins has, and we're up to 113.
Yeah,
7-win expeditions.
It's been crazy. I have everything maxed out. I have all the cards already somehow, and
it's full collection.
Yeah, full collection. Actually, I'm on my third account. Actually, I've got
Yeah.
one for every single shard.
Yo, actually, so I played in a tournament recently, just like a week one. It was on Sunday.
Wait,
It was just a
wait,
quick.
already?
Yeah, there's a small. It was like $100 run by Monokuma. You guys
Oh,
watch
yes.
TFT scene,
Yeah.
right? Like, so he used
Yes.
to run those really quickly into TFT scene. He ran just a very small. Like the format was really like not good, but that's not his fault. It's just the game is brand new. No one had
Right,
cards,
no one has
so the
cards.
format was literally you bring one deck and that's
Yeah.
all you get to play.
Yeah.
And it was like best of 3 or something. So if you get countered, it's like really rough, right? But there was like a person that was talking about, yeah, I've already maxed my chest on 3 accounts, and I was like, wait, that's so smart because you can actually make different deck lists on your 3 accounts.
Right.
Because I'm just playing and gaining 0 EXP all day because I max out the EXP instantly. Yeah. So they've gotten to test out so many different lists because they're playing on 3 accounts.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, man, part of me wants to make like an EUW account. But then there's another part of me that just absolutely doesn't want to think about doing that
at all.
Oh, I have the same feeling. Like, I really want to do that and then like play more decks, but also I really don't want to do that.
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
Just let us. Oh, I don't know. They probably won't let us use our account across multiple things. There's probably some logistical reason why you can't do that. But
Casanova, question: how's the grind been? What rank you got to?
So yeah, I was able to reach Diamond 4 already. I got that yesterday. I basically spent all of yesterday. I started at Plat 40 LP, and I went 33 and 13, running. Basically, it was Tides. At least I think Tides was the originator of it. That's who I got it from. Tides of Times, Darius Elise, Spider kind of aggro deck, with a couple late game finishers. And so that's the deck I ran, and yeah, 33-13. It took a lot less time than I thought to get from Plat to Diamond. Yeah,
that's pretty strong. And we're gonna be talking about some. I mean, I think that deck specifically is a good example of like the kind of deck that you're gonna want to play if you want to grind up fast because
because it's fast.
Yeah.
It's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, if I played Control and went 33 and 13, it would take me like 4 days.
I was gonna say you'd still be playing the first half of those games.
Exactly.
You'd be me.
Yeah. and I love playing Control. When I played Hearthstone, I mean, my favorite deck was Freeze Mage, and after that, it was Control Warrior. So I love Control decks, but sometimes you just gotta play aggro if you want to climb in a reasonable amount of time.
Filthy Control players.
Also, another like. This is my like not tinfoil hat, but this is just my card game nerd coming out.
Your cardboard hat.
Like aggro in a brand new card game while people are still learning the game is so good because it punishes people for not knowing how to play. Like you can capitalize on people's mistakes so much better with an aggressive deck.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason that I went 33 and 13 yesterday, and today I went 12 and 16 because I'm playing this aggro deck, right? And climbing through Plat, it's that crazy. A lot of people I think can get to Plat very easily playing whatever deck is just good. They can easily climb there. And then once you get to Diamond, you're queuing into the same 3 people and they're all good. So it's like I was playing against Tides of Time, Astrogation, and then 5. I think he was an Artifact player. These are all people who are professional card game players, and then I'm the 4th person queuing in Diamond. It's just the 4 of us, and like I've been a professional gamer, but a card game is something that is it's not new to me. I've played card games all my life, but as far as to compete in one, it's a little bit newer.
Yep.
So I'm still able to hold my own, and in my climb to reach Diamond, I played against these same players, but it just wasn't playing them every single game. And I actually had a favorable win rate against them yesterday, but it's a lot harder when you're just playing them, and one of them's running a hard counter deck to the aggro deck with Fiora.
You said,
I want to ask you just this question I just thought up just now with no prior background.
Well, no background at all.
How do you feel about Fiora specifically?
God, she's my favorite, actually. I love her. No, it's just the most frustrating character to play against. I don't think she's like OP or like the best thing. I do think she's good. I think she's a viable champion to be playing, and her lists are pretty good, but especially when you're playing decks that have smaller minions in or not enough control to deal with her, or at least to get through all the denies and different things that they have to protect her. It gets real frustrating when you control the board all game and then just they slap a Fiora down and slowly kill you by hitting you 4 times, even though you've dealt 19 damage to them.
Yeah.
Can be a bit upsetting.
Fiora is one of my favorite cards just as a designed card because like you said, it's not a broken card. At least we haven't seen it be broken yet. It's been very good. It has a lot of counterplay, which I think counterplay is something that we'll be talking about as we go through the show. As Saucy and I have been MTG players for many years now, so we know all about actual interaction, which for all the Hearthstone players out there, interaction is when you do something that impact. I'm kidding. I'm trolling.
He says talking to me, the Hearthstone player.
I also have played Hearthstone since closed beta.
1843.
So, actually 1843. That was also the day I got my first 7-win expedition in Legends of Runeterra. Same day.
That explains like just the excitement with Nax coming out because you waited so long.
I know it's almost out, guys. It's almost out. How many memes can we put in a 1 minute block?
I agree though. I don't think Fiora right now is broken per se, but she's a card that I feel like we're all gonna have to keep our eyes on, and the design team's gonna keep their eyes on in the future. That's a card that definitely will break the game at some point.
Well, part of me kind of thinks it may have. There's definitely some people who seem to have found like very good lists for it, and it feels really difficult to beat. It feels like a struggle the entire game if they draw Fiora, and it's like I think there's enough answers right now that it's fine. But I definitely am worried for her in the future. And I also do think that she is currently, I want to say, maybe not an S tier champion, but a tier 1 champion. Which is scary for that kind of card. That's a scary prospect.
She definitely is in the right hands because it does take the right skilled player who you have to have a core understanding of how the game works to be able to successfully play that. Because like there's so many times I've beaten players that just screw it up. It's just like from them not understanding. It's like, oh, you didn't know how that card works.
So I've gotten so much of that.
They like slam a Fiora on 3 with no banked mana, and you just like use a removal card. It's gone.
Like,
it's like, oh,
nice.
All right. No, because now all the Fiora players are just passing on turn 1 and 2, and then slamming Fiora with 3 mana, 3 spell mana, and it's like, I have to. I'm playing aggro right now, so I think I need to just like change what I'm playing. Obviously, it's losing to Fiora. I need to switch decks, but I need to play things on 1 and 2, and then by the time it's 3, I don't have mana for combat tricks. They've slammed Fiora. It basically is lost at that point. There's some things that I can do to come back on board, and I have a lot of things in my deck to deal with it, and I've teched in a bunch of cards to deal with Fiora, and sometimes I can win, but then after you finally kill the Fiora, they just slam a Radiant Guardian and heal back to full, and so it's like,
it's
pretty rough.
It's crazy, and I'm wondering if a card like Fiora is purposely pushed to be. I mean, because it's really good against elusive decks because all those creatures are so small. You pick them off on your attack. It's good against the aggro decks for the same reason. You're picking off prime units, or you're just eating the 1/1 spiders for free, basically. And I'm wondering because like that is going to be very good if you're playing an aggro deck, and it's best of 1 on the ladder, right? But I'm wondering if they're balancing the cards, if this is like almost an indicator that they're balancing the cards for a tournament format that's like, okay, Fiora is really good against that deck, but you can build a control deck that just has all of the deal 3 damage, deal 3 to everything that came into play this turn. If a minion died, like the Shadow Isles builds, the more control-y Shadow Isles builds are really good against Fiora. So if you're playing like a Conquest or a Last Deck Standing, I don't remember the exact Hearthstone formats for tournament, but like if you're playing one of those formats, like the Fiora deck might be able to win, is very favorable in some matchups, but it's actually a huge dog in others. And I'm wondering,
well, it's like one of the favorite decks of mine that I played in the last preview patch was literally the only minions was a Tryndamere and an Anivia. That does pretty good against Fiora. Like if you have no minions in your deck, you have no creatures, it's all
Right.
removal. It's like, okay. So
Yeah,
something like that, you know?
Yeah, I think that absolutely would be good against Fiora. The problem right now with that on ladder, but I don't think there's a problem in general. I actually prefer when a game is balanced like that to,
Mhm.
to have tournaments be the primary thing.
Yeah.
I would still just play Fiora on ladder right now because if you play that control deck, you're just gonna get steamrolled by 6 aggro decks before
Oh,
you find
yeah.
Fiora,
Mhm.
and it's just like that. But I agree that that's good balance. I don't mind if that's the case. If that's
Right.
the case, then I can build a control deck that beats these Fiora decks and
Mhm.
bring it to a tournament and not worry about Fiora there. That's great. And then I'll realize that Fiora might be one of the best decks on ladder, and I'll just start playing it. And at least when in a mirror match, you can't
Right.
complain.
Right.
Yeah.
Like play better.
You can just play better, and there actually feels there's so many times to actually play better. It feels so
Yeah.
good and rewarding
Yeah.
after playing Hearthstone for
This
so
game
long.
feels so good. Yeah, this game feels so good.
I have to flex actually earlier today before the show I was playing in an expedition. Of course, I'm undefeated right now. By the way, I played. I have like almost a mono elusive deck. I actually first picked Teemo thinking I was gonna go meme puff caps, and then I just got nothing but Ionia cards. I've got like all the elusives. I've got like 3 denies. It's like my deck is insane actually. But I have a Zed is the other piece that's important to this story. So I'm playing against a mono Freljord deck, and I have 2 3-power elusives, and then the 2/1 elusive that gets pumped when a guy comes into play.
Okay. The
duo, and he's at 6. So I need 2 of these elusives to get through, and I also have the 2/1. So I'm like, I have 8 power of unblockable damage, and I'm open attacking, and I'm like, I can just attack with these, and I just win. But I'm like, what's that card? If he has favorable wins, I need to be able to pump up my guy one more. He was at 3, not at 6.
Yeah.
I'm like, if he has favorable wins, he's going to be at 1. So I'm like, and he had frozen my Zed the turn before. So he had the Rhymestone guy. My Zed had 0 attack. I'm like, I'm going to also attack with the Zed to create the clone to pump the duo. And I'm like, I probably don't need to do this, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And he had the favorable wins, and I won exactly. And I just spammed the Heimerdinger like calculus
so
one. I'm
good.
like, I had like, it had been a long time since I felt like I really earned a win in an online card game, and that was the moment for me. I was like, wow, I actually knew a possible card that they could have, and I figured out a way to play around it. And based on the board state, I may have very well lost that game if I didn't win right there. So I'm this is a long way of me just bragging that I got a win in Expedition. But
which, I mean, you're at over 100 7-win Expedition.
Over
now, so
100.
That's true. Yeah.
Over 700 Expedition wins so far.
Yeah, it's not bad in 6 days.
Yeah,
or 5 days.
Yeah, I have not slept, and also I created some extra time. But speaking of hundreds of wins, we have our very first person to hit master rank in the world. That is Pokrovac HS. They are I believe a Czech Republic player. The Legends of Runeterra Twitter actually tweeted out that they got it. So very, congrats to him. He did post his decks on Mobalytics, which we have in front of us and we've looked at. And Casanova, you had we were talking in the pre-show. You had a pretty interesting observation about all these decks.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he's just playing what everybody on the ladder is playing. Like, well, at least in Diamond. So before Diamond, you run into a lot more stuff. But once you're at Diamond, this is just what all of the good players are playing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at the one he got to Master, which is essentially the list that I was just talking about, playing up to Diamond. It's the Elise Darius Spider aggro list with a couple kind of late game bombs. You run 2 Rasa, you run a Commander Ladros, and you run a decent amount of buffing spells, a couple of things for removal to help you just stick the spiders on the board, and it's a really good deck. But I think people figured out Fiora kind of beats it down because it's not working anymore at that. at that elo. I mean, even I was watching Tides a little bit earlier. He was struggling so hard against the Fiora decks playing the same list. So it definitely seems like it may have been answered. It's still an incredibly strong deck. If you play against anything except Fiora, seems really good. You win a lot of the time, but there's a couple Fiora lists out there that seem to be toppling it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like one thing I would say, so we'll put this, if you haven't seen them already, we'll put the deck lists on Discord and in the show notes. Because definitely look at these because everyone else is going to be looking at these same lists.
Yep.
So these are going to be, at least for a while, these are going to be some of the, if you haven't been seeing these decks for some reason, this is what a lot of people are going to be playing.
Yep. Yeah.
I will say I can keep going through these. I mean, he has Swim, if you guys know Swim Stream, EG Swim. He made a Dawn Spiders list with I think one of his, I can't remember who was with him, so sorry about that. So I can't give credit to the person who helped him, but it was Swim's Dawn Spider list, and he has the exact list that Swim had posted a while ago.
Yep.
As one of the lists that he was playing, as well as this control list, I believe is one I have seen. Well, this control list is a little bit different from some of the other ones I've seen. Running like 3 copies of the box and a couple other spells that I hadn't seen run quite as much. This is more similar to Tide's list, but Tide's kind of alternated in and out Anivia. So this one's a little bit different, running 1 copy of Tryndamere and 3 copies of Braum.
And this one has an entreat in it as well. It's just kind of interesting.
That's very interesting to me because he has 2 Babbling Bjergs, and he could just run a 3rd Babbling Bjerg, unless that entreat is to try and find Braum.
Yeah,
I think it might be. Oh, maybe it isn't. I mean, it obviously is because you have to, like, you don't get to choose what you pick off of the entreat. But I mean, it getting the second Braum. I mean, Braum has one of the best spells like that he turns into, and it combos so well with him specifically. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like, you just guarantee, or I mean, you're 50%ing your like Braum into the I forget what it's called. Actually, I can just look at it. It is called Take Heart. Yeah, you can get Braum's Take Heart. I mean, and that's burst. I mean, at 6 mana, right? Entreat is a burst. Yeah, Entreat is also a burst, so you can
2 mana. Yeah.
Yeah, for 5 mana, you can.
Oh, that kind of makes sense. Actually,
pump your Braum at burst speed. So, or pump. If you already have a Braum, you can pump whoever is damaged. So, it definitely makes some sense. I mean, what's interesting to me about this grouping of decks is that we see hyper aggro, pretty standard control, a like mid-range elusive, or like it's an elusive but it's also anti-elusive elusive deck. The Dawn Spiders, which is probably more on the aggro side, and then the if you are familiar with the first preview patches, like the just standard Jinx Draven, like discard aggro deck. And it's like, there's one control deck, and it's just all aggro decks after that. And I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on that, because obviously climbing is going to be physically faster in terms of just time spent in each game if you're playing an aggro deck. Yeah. But also, I have been watching a bunch of different streams, and one streamer, Gara, who's a former Hearthstone pro and streamer and player, as well as other card games, was mentioning he was going through one of his like Shadow Isles control decks, and it's just like, there's no reason to be playing control for a lot of reasons. It's like you've got Vengeance, which is just straight up kill a unit for 7 mana, and like, yes, that gets reduced like in essence from banking spell mana, but it's like you play 7 mana to kill a unit, but like they have, the opponent's playing 5/5s for 5 that buff their whole deck, or an 8 mana. I mean, even in the control mirror, the 8 mana Commander Lidros, who cuts their life in half and then also just comes back.
Return it to hand.
It just comes back. So it's like,
oh, thank you, you've killed it. I will play it again, and now you're down to 5.
So like, it seems, and I have a hard time. I haven't really thought too much about it, but it seems like the spell quality versus the minion quality just seems like way off right now, or at least it seems really heavily leaning towards minions being powerful. I want to get what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit, Blevins,
Mhm.
but minion like creature combat is so strong and like minion stats are so strong.
Mhm.
That's why you see a lot of decks with like the Avarosian Hearthguard and the Omen Hawks. Like Omen Hawk
Mhm.
specifically is so powerful just because getting those buffs on your dudes, having bigger guys is so strong in this game. And that's why like the Dawn Speaker, the Dawn Spider deck is
Yes.
so good because it just buffs your whole board. And having just bigger stuff is super powerful.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I've seen a lot of lists that are the Ionia Freljord kind of elusive deck
Mhm.
that actually only run about 6 total spells, and then they're all minions.
Yeah.
His list does have an extra 6 spells, but
Yeah,
I've
his-
seen lists that completely cut out the Will of Ionia and cut out Elixir of Iron.
Mhm.
They cut out Brittle Steel as well. They take Heart and Deny, and that's it.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
then it's just minions. And that deck is the one I used to get from gold to plat well, somewhat. I used it like halfway, and then the other half I used Precipix, Noxus, Elusive, Aggro
Mhm.
with Ionia, with a Katarina in it just for fun. Just one Katarina.
I love it.
But yeah, it's like minion, like you said, minion strength is so high right now. It very much seems like maybe, I don't know if spells in general need buffs on like mana cost because there's spell mana to help that.
Mhm.
And I've seen recently very interesting decks. A lot of these Ezreal, kind of almost, they're not quite OTK, but
Mhm.
I would almost call them an Ezreal OTK deck
Yeah.
where they kind of fill up their hand with shrooms and they clear your board. That the deck is primarily spells, and then they'll drop an Ezreal once he's leveled up, and then just play a bunch of 1 and 0 cost spells
Yeah.
and kill you.
Yep.
So
It definitely,
some of them are good.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I mean, again, like we were talking about before, the game has not even been out for a week yet, so certainly, maybe
God, I
jumping to
can't
some
believe we've
conclusions too
been
early.
playing this for a year, and like the
Yeah,
meta
right.
just still doesn't seem to find.
It's
It's
like,
crazy.
oh wait, what time is it? Oh, yep, it's 8:14. The meta changed 14 minutes ago, so
Yeah.
the old 8 o'clock
like-
meta shift.
That's legitimately true, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Like the meta is changing so much. The quote unquote meta.
Mhm.
I won't even say that there is necessarily a meta, just because like it is ever evolving because it is so new, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
experimenting with different stuff. And one thing is, as people get more cards, as people's collections increase,
Yeah.
we're going to see the game change completely as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a massive shift even just on the vault opening because
Yeah.
more people could build more decks.
Yeah.
So it went from everyone playing elusive to everyone crafting the aggro list with spiders and
Mhm.
Darius and running Nox's Shadow Isles and hitting each other in the face. So it's just like the meta will shift like that, and it's about some of those players that can stay like maybe one step ahead are going to try and climb a little bit more. If they see that everyone's going to craft a list that is being popular and they already have an idea of a counter list and they craft that instead, they might really rise to the top.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think on in regards to the spell thing, I think they probably leaned towards more. I mean, this is the base set too. It's not only is the game new, this is the base set. If you look at the base set of anything, Hearthstone, Magic, any game, for the most part, the first set that comes out is going to be very vanilla, or if you're not from the card game world, very plain, very straightforward. I mean, this I think, just without doing a super deep analysis, just anecdotally, this base set of Legends of Runeterra seems more complex than most other
Yeah.
base games.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I entirely agree with that. I feel like there's a lot of depth in this set. There's a few potentially problematic cards and card types, but it's very new, and every time new cards come out, that'll probably shake things up, and they may even do hot fixes and balance changes a lot more. Like Hearthstone, I know it was pretty rare to get balance changes in, but
Yep.
I think Riot is more open to constantly making balance changes, and I expect the meta to be shifting a lot, and it's going to be hard to continually follow that and work on deck building, which is definitely a weaker part of my game from not having as much card game experience.
Yeah.
I came from a chess background. I'm very good at thinking moves ahead and playing the cards on the board. But my deck building abilities are a little bit like I'm still good at deck building, but I'm not. I feel like it would be egotistical for me to come into this game saying I want to be a competitor and then being like, oh, I'm going to build all my own decks. I'm sure I can build a better deck than these people who have been playing card games professionally for the last 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it would be insane of me to come in here wanting to be competitive and to do anything except for look at the decks that the best players are playing, copy them, add text where I think they might improve my play style or whatnot, but taking a base that is put in front of me and then executing it properly and executing it as best as I possibly can, which I think is why I've been able to climb so quickly with these Hearthstone pros and Magic players, is because I don't have the ego to say I can build something better. It's like, no, I know what I want out of this game. I want to succeed. I want to do really well. So I'm going to look at what's good, what's the best, and then I have to learn how to be the best player that I can be.
Yeah, I've done the same thing, and I've played games for a very long time. I'm not the deck building side of it is just not something I care to do. Sometimes it is, and I almost think, and maybe someone has come up with. I have an inkling that there's got to be something with a Lucian Shadow Isles deck. I don't know what.
There's one that's actually been made that you may want to try if you have Hecarim. There's a ethereal kind of Hecarim Shark Chariot deck that Swim made that has Lucian in it, and the idea is that you'll play all these ethereals and Hecarim and whatnot, and you're playing these ethereals when you have like a Lucian on the board and they all die, so you proc your Lucian.
Right.
And then Rally is a pretty good mechanic with ethereals.
It's really good
because you just keep sending them into your opponent. So it's a Hecarim Lucian deck that has, Demacia, Shadow Isles, Lucian.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a pretty interesting list. It's really cool. I think it's good. It loses out to the same stuff that most ethereal decks lose to, but I think as an ethereal list, it's like really good. Or ethereal. It's the same shit.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's the same.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, because that's like I've played a lot of Lucian in expeditions, and it's just like it's so strong. 2 mana, like all of their, and I mean part of it might just be that people play around the mid combat level up really, really poorly. Like like so much. They're like, I'm like, well, I need to put my Lucian last in attack so that he has the highest chance of leveling up, and then they kill something. I'm like, well, you just killed yourself, dude, because you leveled up my Lucian early.
There's a lot of cards like that, though, that like the mid combat level up will win you the games, especially cards like Hecarim and Thresh is a big one. Just
Darius.
Darius is huge.
It's I won so many games in the climb just off of like calculating ways to level up my Darius mid combat. Not even them failing to counterplay it, but just making sure that positioning is correct so that your Darius levels up as you're going to hit them. It's so much extra damage. It's like positioning, even though you can't position on your board like Hearthstone, but that doesn't matter as much yet. There's not many cards to do anything for when you play them. Like you're not allowed to position them on your board.
Right.
When you're attacking, you can position them, and it's so incredibly important.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things for sure. I'll address this right now because we are on the subject of Lucian. We got a question in the chat from Clopfoot that says, is Lucian better with or without Senna in the deck? I think for constructed, Senna is probably a little too... I don't think it does what you want it to do to shore up your matchups that deck is weak against.
I think the problem is I don't think Senna is a good card to play when you don't have Lucian on the board. So if you think about it in that sense, it's kind of just a bad card. Like you shouldn't run Senna, because if she is not good unless you have X other card, then, and it's only one other card. It's not like you have a lot of different other cards that are outs. Like, for instance, if we're thinking of Cursed Keeper, you do need another card to make Cursed Keeper good, but you also run about, 15 other cards in the deck that make that Cursed Keeper good. So with Senna, you can only maximum have 3 cards in your deck that are going to make that Senna good. And I don't think that's worth including it in the deck. I think running a Lucian in a deck where other things are going to die, hence I think Ephemeral Lucian deck makes a lot of sense. I think that it's a lot better to not run Senna.
Yeah. It also like dies to I think the problem with Lucian and that what keeps him from being actually really good is dies to Mystic Shot, dies to Avalanche, and Senna also does both of those things and doesn't help you. Like if Senna like gave Lucian the shield barrier then or something like that.
That could be interesting.
That would be interesting. Or like if one of them dies, it revives the other one. Something like that. Like the problem is it's like you're basically just adding a combo that like gives them extra health, and like a 4/2 quick attack for 3 mana is kind of weak for constructed. Now I've played a lot of both of them in Expedition and it's fine, but
I think they're probably good in Expedition. It seems they'd be very strong in Expedition.
Yeah, especially since people play around them wrong. But good question, Clapfoot. Thank you for that. Let's move on here and let's talk about our first vaults, because we got our very first vault day on Tuesday. And I'll start with mine. And I think an interesting thing, and I'll preface this, is I think my opinion of champions, and I think the opinion of champions in general, has gone from like, holy crap, these are the greatest thing ever, they're going to define everything, every single deck needs 6, don't even like, they should, why are you even asking, to there are a number of decks that aren't running champions at all. So I think I was expecting to be like, okay, well, I want to get like 2 champions or 1 or 2 champions in this vault. I didn't get any. Initially, I was kind of bummed, but then I'm looking back on it, I'm like, I got like 4 or 5 epics, got like 2K shards. It's like, yeah, I think I'm okay with this.
So I got you are anyone who got a max 13 vault is going to be pretty similar. They're all fairly similar rewards, at least. I didn't get any champions in mind, but I think I got like 4 epics. And my biggest thing is I had a deficit of commons and rares. Like I really wanted to build the ephemeral Hecarim deck. I have Hecarims, but I didn't have any rare wild cards, and I needed Shark Chariots and all this stuff. So I was able to build. I made 3 decks that I was wanting to, because none of them required a lot of champions. So I made like the elusive Braum deck that I wanted, and like I was able to build 3 new decks that I wanted to play. Just because, like you said, originally I was like, man, I really need all these champs, but I realized that a lot of the decks I wanted to play like didn't require the champions as much. So I was thrilled. I made a whole bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah, I somewhat agree. I think I've just been unlucky with champions. Is why I was kind of tilted that I didn't get a champion, because like I have like 3 Luxes. Like I don't want to play Lux in anything. I got 3 Yasuos. Maybe you got to figure that out. But I didn't really hit a lot of the champions that I wanted to try out and I wanted to play. So I was hoping to get some champions. Didn't get that. I am very happy with the amount of dust and the amount of commons and rares that you get, though. I think that's like, it was really nice to help kind of finish putting together a couple decks that I was missing a few pieces for. It does seem like when you... There's actually an interesting thing to talk about, is like when you pick what decks you're going to build at the start, it definitely helps to pick a deck that has like Shadow Isles in it, or Ionia, something where you can then primarily have cards from that deck or that set in your deck, and then tech in things from the other places. And it helps you build a much more diverse amount of deck lists. I'm so happy I went like a Shadow Isles list first, because I've been able to play a lot of different stuff with Shadow Isles.
Yeah, I think Shadow Isles and Ionia. I mean, I keep thinking, I'm like, well, the first thing I went for, I'm like, I need P&Z because I want these champs. I want Teemos, I want Ezreals, I want Heimers, I want all of that. That's what I want to play, are those things. And then once the meta started to form a little bit, I'm like, yeah, maybe I just don't want to ever play P&Z. Or like maybe I'm just not playing P&Z. Although I will play myself some Jinx at some point. And then I'm like, okay, everything's using Shadow Isles. That's great. I'll run Shadow Isles. And then it's like, well, actually, now Ionia is really strong with Elusive. And it's like, well, if I want to beat Elusive, I need Freljord cards. It's like, wait a second. Everything is good. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
There's not like a stinker so far. It's like even like Demacia, like there's a really budget, really powerful, like elite based deck that you can build that's just mono Demacia, and you don't even need champions. You can run whatever you got. It's like all commons and rares. And
I see people throw Garen in that list just for fun. Because like he's just a big body, because it's just a bunch of like large lads coming and slapping you around. So
he's also an elite, notably. So he gets all the benefits of being an elite, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, Garen is one that has caught me off guard. I didn't realize he was going to be as good as he is. Because like I see the regeneration on him, I'm like, oh, he's kind of like a defensive oriented card, but it's like, no, actually, he just gives you a free attack every turn if he levels up. So yeah, I mean, one thing, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. How have you been leveling up the classes? Like, how have you been choosing what ones you do? Are you jumping around? How are you actually going through and leveling up the different, or the regions rather, not the classes?
Yeah, let me pull mine up right now. Yeah, I started by getting them all to 4, and now I'm trying to get them all to 8. Because I feel like I'm going to get the most amount of cards and whatnot out of that. I mean, 8 is a champion capsule, so that's pretty good to pick up. 4 before that was a wild capsule, give you a lot of wild cards, help you build whatever you want. So I think that's a pretty good system. I'm not sure if it's the best, but I think it's up there. Definitely one of the better ways to go about it, I think.
Yeah, I've gotten everything to 4 first. And then I've been doing the same thing. I originally just picked Shadow Isles and was just grinding that. So my Shadow Isles is like 12.
Oh wow.
And then I learned, I was like, oh wait, this mathematically makes a lot more sense to do 4 to everything. Because I went hard on Shadow Isles. I'm like, yeah, we're doing this.
We're doing it all.
So I just got everything else to 4, and now I'm working on my P&Z because I need some P&Z champs.
Yeah.
I need more Heimerdingers.
I feel like I'm happy with every P&Z champ I get, and there's like, well, there's like a dud champ in every other one, at least, I think. It's like no one wants Lux. Just putting it out there. Nobody wants Lux right now. No one wants, what's Freljord? Braum is good. Ashe is actually pretty good. Tryndamere is good.
I crafted 2 Anivias.
Oh, and Anivia. So maybe there's no duds in Freljord. Demacia.
Yeah, Freljord I wouldn't say has any duds.
I mean, there's probably not even any duds at all. I mean, Lux is probably fine. We're just sleeping
I think,
on her.
Like, a lot of Shadow Isles is weird because I feel like Thresh and Callista are really bad, but I'm not sure. Like, they might not be.
Challenger's real
right
strong.
now, they just don't feel good.
Right.
But I agree. Challenger is a really strong card text, so maybe Thresh is actually okay. It's just a 5 mana, 3/6 body. It's not that bad. There's a lot of Culling Strike going around right now, though. So a 3 attack is a little bit scary to have on a stat line. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a P&Z that you were talking about, I actually wanted to mention. A lot of people thought it was really bad for a long time. P&Z has kind of been the joke region so far. It seems like it's not that good. But recently, people have been running this Noxus P&Z Ezreal deck that's mostly spells, and it's whooped my ass every time I've run into it recently. So it is very anti-aggro, but I also feel like it would do fine into control because you're just doing spell damage. It's not like you're playing minions. You're just kind of waiting until the end of the game.
All those
where
puff caps have burst.
Try and kill them with spells. Yeah. I mean, the minions you're playing, you're not playing them to get damage into the face. You're playing them because they give you spells or they give you spell mana. Or they do all these different things, and then you use those bodies to defend you from aggro. But yeah, it's pretty pretty interesting. I really want Ezreal's now because the deck reminds me of Freeze Mage, and I really want to play it. So, but I only have one Ezreal and no champion wildcards.
Yep.
It's losing my mind.
I did get to do almost, well, it wasn't really an OTK technically, but I did have a leveled up Karma, which I in Expedition that I cast a Dawn Till Dusk or Dawn and Dusk on and made what would normally be 2, but it copied it, so I made 4 copies of leveled up Karma and then cast a Mystic Shot on them, and I cast Mystic Shot and the deal 1 to 2 different things draw card. So I let's see, that would be 5, 10. I did 20 damage in one turn and killed them. without them being, it was just like Mystic Shot, like copies of them all. It was pretty sick.
I've seen that combo with Decimate too.
Yeah, Expedition seems like you get the best like memes that actually happen, because in constructive, you ever tried to run that combo, like you just get blown out, right? But in Expedition, you can do really cool things like that, which I guess is really cool about Expedition, is you can try and build these like insane combo decks and set up for that kind of stuff, and it actually might work because you're not going to get blown out. I feel like most Expedition games go to about 10 rounds.
Oh, definitely. At least.
Yeah, at least.
Unless you're playing a really aggressive deck, which I tend to do. I also had the 1 mana Last Breath guy that draws you a 6+ cost spell from a region that's not Demacia, and I got War Mother's Call off of it.
Okay, so, sure, that's okay.
Oh, it's great because I'm attacking with all my like little dudes, because I'm playing an aggro deck, of course, that just randomly, I'm playing an aggro Shadow Isles Demacia deck that randomly now has an active War Mother's Call. Sure. And I'm attacking, doing a bunch of trades, doing a bunch of damage, and then it's like the next turn I get like a 5/5, or like I get like 2 challenger guys that get buffed because they're elites. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, play Expedition, guys. It is fun. But so one sort of this actually kind of ties into a listener question as well as a topic, so we'll just we'll address this here. So this is from Ardrick in the Discord, which, by the way, guys, you should join discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. It's a poppin' place to be. They ask, is the elusive tag really as problematic for the health of the game as many people seem to be saying online? Magic has flying and it's been fine for decades, so why all the hate for elusives? Casanova, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I got a couple things. I would say one of the reasons there's a lot of hate on elusives is a lot of Hearthstone players, right? I don't think there's something exactly like elusives in Hearthstone, or at least not nearly as prevalent if it does exist.
Well, kind of all minions have elusive unless they have a taunt.
Right, yeah. So you kind of, fair enough, right? But I think Magic has it, but Magic also has reach, correct? Which allows you to block flying. That's a little bit different. I mean, we have Challenger, so you can influence it on your turn. But that's, still being able to block them. Maybe just adding reach or something equivalent of reach would completely fix the problem for people. I don't think it would be much of an issue. I don't think elusives is even the strongest thing right now. It's pretty frustrating sometimes to play against them, but I think the fact that it was just strong for a little bit because the decks that people were playing were just bad against elusives.
Right.
And now the meta is kind of stabilized again, where elusives are now kind of not that good compared to a lot of the things that are being played, and it all works out. I don't think it's problematic. I just think it's something that needs to be watched, and maybe even add a new tag that's equivalent to reach from Magic.
Yeah, so this is my hot take on it. Elusive is strong. It's obviously powerful. It's become one of the things that I've seen just looking around on the internet, the flavor of the minute sort of thing. The second one thing becomes good at all, since it is such a new game, everyone just starts shouting out, it's super broken, this is too powerful, needs nerfed. And it's happened with so many things. First, it was every spider that's in the game is too broken and too powerful. Then it was Braum is too broken, too powerful. Then Elusive is too broken, too powerful. Commander Leadros is too broken, too powerful.
Well,
So anything,
I think that one might actually be true, by the way.
he's very, very good. But the second anything is good at all, everyone's been shouting, this needs nerf, this is too broken. And it's just because it's a new game, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things, and it kind of goes to what we were saying before, and why aggro decks are so good at the beginning of a meta is that the control deck in the grand scheme of things, if the meta evolves over months and months and months, there's usually that triangle, right? There's an aggro deck, which is level 1. You know what you're doing with an aggro deck. You're going to go face. You're going to try to kill them as fast as possible. Go under a lot of the more developed strategies. Aggro usually beats a mid-range deck, which is sort of has like a little bit of aggro to it, but is more going for that late game because it has stronger spells and minions. And then there's the control deck, which is usually trying to beat the aggro deck, or I got those flipped up, but there's that like usually that triangle of like aggro beats control, control beats mid-range, mid-range beats aggro. Yeah, I did have that mixed up.
Yeah.
The thing is that it starts with aggro because the aggro deck knows what it's doing. The mid-range deck knows what it's doing, but what it's doing is based on what the aggro deck is doing. It needs to be able to beat that. And then the control deck sometimes can also beat the aggro deck and the mid-range deck, but it is like the control deck has the most specialized tools. You
have to know what you're targeting.
Right. And when a new game or a new set or whatever comes out, like the players are basing it off of past knowledge. It's like, okay, well, there's a Wrath of God effect. That's usually pretty good. Let's play it. The power level of Wrath of God in a vacuum is known, but we're not playing in a vacuum. We're playing in a meta. So the power level of a 9-mana Wrath of God effect varies wildly on how fast the aggressive decks are. There's sometimes these cards that are in theory good against them, but in practice they're not good against them because you're just dead before you cast it. There's an old school Magic story from when the first Mirrodin set was standard legal. There's a card called Shatterstorm, which destroyed all artifacts, and the best deck in the format was Affinity. I'm sorry, we're talking inside Magic. There's probably all these kids that were born after Mirrodin was even came out that have no idea what I'm talking about. A deck that was based on artifacts. There's a card, 4 mana, destroy all artifacts. And like, oh, well, this is in the format. It's going to beat Affinity, right? Affinity's going to die. Wrong. It was never good enough. The Affinity deck was able to play around it. They were able to withstand it. They were able to do all these things. So the fact that that card, in theory, is good against them didn't matter because in practice, they still lost every time they cast it.
Yeah. It's just like if you're trying to cast a Ruination, but you're dead before you can cast it.
Exactly.
Like if you're still dead on turn 4,
yep.
Ruination isn't going to be good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Ruinations cast on my board when they have, on turn 6, right? They have 6 mana, 3 bank mana.
Yep.
And it kills my board, and then I play Darius. And then they die because they're at 9 HP already.
Yeah, they're at 3 health or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, I just played it on an empty board because you've Ruinationed my 6 spiders, and then I play a leveled up Darius on an empty board, and I open attack on the next turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there you go. Like it's not always gonna save you against a lot of these decks that are way too fast for it right now at 9 mana. So you need to have a lot more tools to deal with the early game. I mean, Avalanche is pretty good.
Yeah.
The box actually feels so bad most of the time, but I think it's okay. There's not a lot of better options, I think.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 copies of it can work out. There are certain times where it feels really good. It just a lot of times can feel really dead in your hand.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's a 3-copy card. I definitely had a game earlier where I was trying a control deck that had 3 copies, and I drew 3 copies, and it was the worst feeling in the world to have 3 of them. Because you couldn't do anything. I think Withering Whale is another one that someone just brought up in chat. That's another one that's good against spiders for sure.
Yep.
But
yeah,
there's tools out there. Ruination is more for, I would say, the mid-range matchup than anything.
Yeah, or the other, if Ruination's really good against other like late game control decks potentially too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So it's the mid-range and control decks and the later game decks are going to they need to know what they need to beat, right? Because that's how they win. That's what their advantage is, oh, I have the answer to what you're doing, and then I also am getting more value because I'm playing cards like Commander Ledros, which is a huge 8-mana spell that eventually is going to win the game. At the end of the day, it's going to slowly tick, 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 tick. Even if you kill it every turn, it's going to keep having your life total. And it does not take very long for that to happen. So if they can stabilize, it's all about getting to a stabilization and then playing a threat, and that's the game. Even if it takes 4 or 5 turns after that, the game has been over for quite some time. So I think Elusives was, a different flavor of aggro deck that is very good when you're not teching against it. It's exactly like we were talking about with Fiora. Fiora, another thing, really good if you're not teching against it. But if you are, you can definitely beat it. If you're teching against Elusives, you can definitely beat them. If you're teching against Spiders, you can definitely beat them. If you're teching against Control, you can definitely beat them. If the Control decks are starting to play, these Ruination effects, but not playing cards like Mystic Shot or cards like Drain 1, create a Spider, all of a sudden, my beloved 5/1s for 2 might actually be good. But right now, they're not because there's so many good, cheap options that trade favorably with them. I wanted 5/2s for 2 to be good, but they're just not right now because you get completely blown out. So I think in terms of Elusive specifically, something like Reach might be interesting because it would have to be a good card, though, because I think just like a tech card specifically against Elusive is not the way to do it. But the problem is the only way to deal with Elusive right now, besides running a bunch of removal, is to play Elusives yourself, which is not helping the problem. It's just like...
Or just go faster.
Right, or go faster. Exactly.
Or go faster, yeah.
And I think those
or play Braum.
Yeah, thick Braum boy
he does really good against Elusives.
Yeah. Is very nice. Okay, so I hope that kind of answers your guys' questions there. So I want to talk about expeditions versus constructed. I know Saucy is all about that constructed, and from what you're saying, what you've been saying, Casa, it sounds like you're also on the constructed side. But have you played any expeditions at all? How have you been liking it?
I played one, and I liked it. I used to love Arena. The only thing I've played in Magic is Sealed, so I like drafting like Arena style stuff, this expedition style stuff. I love that. Just climbing is my priority, so I've just been grinding constructed for way too many hours every day. So I haven't played it a ton. Part of me liked it less than, I don't know. Maybe it's about even with Hearthstone Arena for me, and it's much worse than Sealed, but that's because I think Sealed is like the most fun format ever.
Sealed is definitely fun. I am for Magic, I love limited. Draft is one of my favorite things. I like Sealed as well. I think if I'm going to play 100 of something, I want it to be Draft over Sealed in general. Okay. But I have really liked Expeditions for a number of reasons. And we've kind of talked about them before, but the little mini packs that you're picking from feel really good.
Oh yeah.
Being able to make a more synergistic deck makes it feel like I'm playing like a constructed deck in a lot of ways, and I'm playing against another constructed deck, or I'm playing against a deck that has a bunch of good cards and maybe isn't as good. And I think that just because there's packs of synergies doesn't mean that it's always good to run those, right? Like what you pick makes a difference. And I think that kind of shows, it allows you to flex the deck building and draft creating skills. And I think it, especially with it being new, I've just learned a bunch of cards and learned a bunch of interactions and stuff that I'm like, oh, I'm still getting used to, okay. All these freeze cards in Freljord are burst, which makes a big difference in how I can interact with them, because I actually can't interact with them. So now I'm when I'm playing against Freljord, I'm like, okay, I need to play a little bit differently because they can do something and I can't do squat about it if they freeze my guy. Whereas I can play around some other stuff like Mystic Shots or something like that. I can keep a pump spell up or whatever.
Yeah. So funny enough, I've played more expeditions than constructed so far.
Ooh.
Yeah. One big thing about expeditions is they give you an absurd amount of experience towards your vault.
They do. Even the free
So
ones.
that's been it. Like, because I haven't actually been able to play as much as I've wanted to. I've been doing a lot of YouTube stuff and a lot of planning with the podcast. So I actually haven't been able to play as much, like actually just play and constructed ladder. I enjoy ladder more, but I still actually have been having a ton of fun with expeditions. And since I've had limited time, I'm like, I need my 13 vault.
Right.
So I think I've done 5 expeditions now. And
nice.
I think I just hit silver. Like, so I haven't even been playing a whole lot of constructed.
Yeah. Yeah. The, that is a good PSA, and we tweeted it out before, but even after you finish your 3 expeditions for the week that you can get prizes off of, or the paid ones, the free ones that you do still give you, they give you your constructed experience, like if you're playing against a person, but they also will give you your expedition completed experience, which I found out by complete accident. I got 7 wins on one of my free ones, and it's like, trial completed, 2,000 experience. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And this
It's
is
a
for
crazy
free.
amount.
It's like, yeah, just grind those out. They're fun right now. It's a really fun mode, so I can't suggest enough to play more expeditions. If not,
also, I really like the value you get out of it. Like, I don't know how long. Well, mine, I'm sure goes slower than yours just because I played slow, stupid, grindy decks. But I'm getting like 3 hours plus out of an expedition run from the 2 trials.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Well, I mean, I only ever have to do one, so
yeah, it's true. But you still do
the second one to get another 7 wins, right? It's just to get more value out of your
I
7
don't do
wins,
that.
right?
No.
Well, that's how you've gotten to over 200 7-win expeditions already, right? It's by doing both of them in each of the packs, right?
No, it doesn't. That doesn't speed it up because I can just do free ones at the end.
That's true. You could just keep riding your 7 wins, unlocking the free ones.
I need to do, if I get my 7 wins, I retire and exit, because then I'll have more resources and I'll feel better about myself if my account has more stuff already. I don't want that banked in like the nether realm. I need it in my account as fast as possible. What if there's a glitch?
That's actually what the Shadow Isles is made out of. If you didn't know, it's banked expedition.
Yeah, banked expeditions. That's what the Shadow Isles is built upon. It's also where you get sent if you lose a duel in Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's
true. To the Shadow Isles.
Yeah,
the Shadow Isles.
Yeah, you get sent back to your first expedition run before you finish your second one. That's canon.
See, I didn't know this. That is canon though.
That is canon. I'm gonna get launched out of a cannon if I keep going down this road. So yeah, I mean, honestly, both have been good. I haven't played a ton of constructed yet, just because I've been waiting until literally today. I'm like, okay, I can build a couple meta decks. I also had a bunch of stuff, so. But that does bring me to one of our last sort of topics here, and it's been a really polarizing one, because I think Legends of Runeterra specifically has created this, I don't want to call it a problem or an issue, but it's created this scenario where we have a lot of people who are playing competitively. We have streamers, we have pro players, we have schmucks like me who are playing. And normally, streamer, Hearthstone streamer, for instance, comes on. They're doing a pack opening video. 500 packs. Great, you've got everything. You're off. The meta starts getting defined as soon as the set, 5 minutes after the set happens, after everyone opens their 500 packs, right?
Because everyone has every card.
Everyone has every card, and that is literally not the case here. I've been jumping around streams, and people are like, yeah, I would build this deck, but I literally just don't have the cards to build it.
Yeah,
and
can't do it.
I personally am kind of torn, and I don't actually know where I fall on this, so I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, do you like this system? Is it good for the game? Is it good for the meta? Is it good for the community? What do you think about this? We can't just go in and buy everything and have the cards instantly. We have to play for them. What do you think about that, Casa?
God, I want to say it's good. I do. I really do. It definitely like feels really frustrating to not be able to play whatever decks I want, but also I feel like paying to get ahead in the sense that like if you're playing free to play and this meta keeps jumping around like this, you just have to wait on your cards. You can't ever commit to building something because maybe it's not good the next day. If you can just pay, it's not pay to win as much as I would. It's just you get really far ahead by paying, and there's a lot of people that can't do that. So I think splitting it up to where it's like you can pay a little bit and you play a bit. I think what I don't like is how much they're capping the amount like playing can get you.
Yeah.
Because I think that like earning it through putting in hours and playing is like something that people shouldn't be able to get that upset about. I guess there's the argument of like, well, streamers get to play all day because that's their job and that's all they get to do, right? So I could never catch up to a streamer, but like at the end of the day, if it's their job to just play this game, then can you really be that upset that it's their job to play this game and they've gotten ahead more so than they spent $200 on this game and they got ahead of you and you don't have $200 to spend on this game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I wish you could unlock more by just playing, and I'm kind of okay with the caps. I would say they could make it a little bit higher on the pay as well. I think the caps are a little bit aggressive, but I like the concept of them.
Yeah. So I, of course, because I have theories on everything. This is Saucy Mailman's Theory Hour. So first off, I will say I enjoy. It's a unique feeling to me. I've never had before because I've always been a whale in every card game I've ever played. I got into Magic and I bought all the shit to play Legacy. I'm like, all right, I'm just dropping like 10 grand. I don't care. Like I got super like that's just what I do because I'm a card game fanatic. So like playing Hearthstone, a new set comes out, I'm the 500 pack opening guy, and like that's just the way I've always been wired. The sense like I get emotional attachment to cards in this game that I've never had the feeling before because like I've had to wait to craft my Anivias. I wanted Anivias, but I had no way to make them. So the second I got my pack openings and like my vault and I had extra champion cards, I'm like, I'm building these Anivias and I'm making 6 different Anivia decks because now I'm like, I have this sense of accomplishment. Like I've gotten these things, I worked towards them, and now I have the thing I wanted. But that means that I couldn't make my Heimerdinger deck that I'm looking forward to make. So next week or through my runs, I'm like, all right, now I can maybe make Heimerdinger. So then like I opened a Heimerdinger like from a champion capsule and it was so cool to me. I'm like, I got this thing that I really want. And like the feeling is awesome. And I mean, I'm one of the streamers playing nonstop. So I think it's also cool that there isn't that wide gap. Like people can play the decks that we're all playing. Like you don't feel bad being a free to play player, whereas in other games like there's this stigma like, yeah, I'm free to play in Hearthstone, and everyone's like, oh, it kind of shits on you, like, oh, you don't have everything, like why don't you have all these cards? And then right now it's like because no one has it. Here's my theory on experience caps and where we're at right now. I think once the game is out, it's going to increase substantially, but they don't want the gap between mobile players and PC players to be so wide from us in the open beta because we've been able to go so far ahead of them. So I think that it's going to be it's really aggressive right now in the terms of what we can unlock because we are in a beta period. But I think once the game's fully launched, the experience is going to be a lot more.
That's actually like a really good point, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them to do it like this because they want new players to be able to get into the game, right? So you mentioned mobile, which I think is a very good point because, of course, they cannot play the game right now. That's not something that they can do, right? But even just when you're trying to get new players to join, you don't want them to join and be like, wow, there's no way I can catch up or no way I can get to where everyone else is. So I think keeping the cap low now and then increasing it a lot at the point where they're getting more and more players, which would probably be, as you said, the release, especially with mobile, is actually just a smart decision. Most of us will probably still have a ton unlocked by that point. Fine, but it'll be easy enough for them to catch up because they'll kind of open the gates. And of course, we'll still be able to finish our collections and whatnot, but they will still be able to make 2, 3, 4 decks, whatever they need, almost instantly. And then from there, be able to unlock a lot more every week. So I think your theory is probably just factual, actually. I think that seems to be very much like that's probably the case.
Yeah. And like we still have the sense of accomplishment. We're beta players. We got to play beforehand. So we have this stuff already, but I could see them even having like the new player bundle having a lot more stuff in it, even
Yeah.
just because like we don't have to pay for it. So we save money because we played and we've earned that. But then you can still catch up and actually play more. I mean, even like how they did it with the preview patch where they gave a lot more things for us to play with. Just because there was account wipes, but I just feel like Riot's smart. they've made games before. This isn't their first thing they've ever done, and they've been able to learn from
before.
They've made game before,
they made game.
but like they've had these other games,
Yeah.
other card games out. There's so much data out there from
Yeah.
every other card game they've been able to take in and use this knowledge. And I don't think that they're not going to want those some to flop. They're not idiots,
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if they just, if new mobile players just like had accelerated experience, and like you were saying, Casa, leveling up all of the region levels, like if they just like you gained like 2x experience or like half the amount of experience you needed to get from level 1 to 4 or whatever, or 1 to 5 for those. Like that would catch people up really quickly because it's like front loaded, right? You get a ton of wild cards and commons and stuff at the front of each of those levels. It's like, yeah, we're just going to if they just gave everyone the first 5 levels, it's like you'd probably be very close to caught up very quickly. And all the mobile players also haven't spent their wild cards on jank like we are right now because we don't know what's going to be good when mobile comes
I've probably
out.
bought a lot of jank. I'm sure I have a bunch of garbage cards in my collection right now. I do. One thing about that is I really wish there was a disenchant feature.
Yeah.
I think that would help. So I could get rid of all of these Luxes.
Yes.
I could just get rid of all of them.
Well,
watch Lux in 1 week is going to be flavor of the month, and you can quote me saying, "I wish I could get rid of all my Luxes." I mean, it's just the way. I mean, it's the way it looks.
Anybody?
I don't think she's that good, but maybe one of these, P and Z decks with those spells where you're casting so many spells. I mean, getting a final spark off that could be really good. But
I think and you made me think about this, Saucy. Legends of Runeterra has created the fun of opening something in a digital card game like I've never had.
Sorry, guys.
Besides, it's all good. Besides, like Magic Online and Magic in paper is different because if I open up a foil like Chase Rare, it's actually worth money. So it's like it's always like opening, it's always like scratching a lotto ticket or whatever. Like I'm always getting that. But like
there's like that heartbeat thing. You're like, I just got this, foil card that's worth $40 extra.
Right. I just like that's always going to be good. But like Hearthstone, it's like, yeah, I can get a golden card, but I don't actually care. And a lot of times it's just getting disenchanted. And I'm just like, it just turns all the cards.
More dust.
Yeah. It's all the cards it's just dust to me. It's all dust, and I'm just making these cards. So it's like even when I open up a card that's in a deck, I'm like, okay, that's one less thing I have to craft now. I don't care. Like you're never actually excited about opening a Hearthstone pack because you just have access to everything.
Physical copies are so hype.
Physical copies are definitely hype for a lot of reasons, especially when you play pack roulette, which is where you open up a pack of Magic cards, shuffle them up, and then keep ripping them in half and flipping them over to see what you get.
That's insane.
That was one of my favorite games that I made up for some reason. I don't know why I did it.
Drinking.
It wasn't. It was definitely not drinking. We did this at tournaments. I ripped a foil spell snare before in half. That was fun.
Dumb. I mean,
we also had a foil Voice of Resurgence when it was in standard get ripped in half. I think that is the winner right now. Yeah, we were. There's a reason our friend group is called the Degenerates, and that's part of the reason why. But okay, one last thing because we are running out of time here. We did get another question in from the listeners here. I think this was also from Ardrick. They ask, in expeditions, when you pick another champion after your games, is it better to add a third champion or a second copy of a champion that you already have in your deck? I have an opinion on this, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first.
I'm gonna be honest. I think your opinion's gonna definitely be the most valid one because you played so many expeditions. I haven't played very many. It's kind of a cop-out answer, but I would say it really hard depends.
Yeah.
Like, if you have two very good champions, it's probably better to just keep with those and get more copies of them so you draw them more often. But there's occasions where, yeah, maybe a different third champion would be better. Like maybe you have, God, it's gonna be hard to come up with an example. But if you have a way to always draw your one-off copy of a champion, or it's a champion like Katarina, where running a one-off is generally better than running more than one copy.
Right.
Then picking up a third doesn't seem so bad to me. But I feel like a lot of cases you're gonna draft champions where you'd want more copies. So I would say, on average, it's better to just get a second copy.
I feel like, yeah, I think that consistency is important in card games, especially in a limited format. And so having more copies of a champion, just so you know you're going to draw them, you can build around it. And especially because you're drafting synergies later on, I think having more copies of a champion is better than splitting it across less copies of like three different champions.
I think that in general, that is what I would say is the case. I would rather have 3 Lucians or 2 Lucians than a Lucian and a Garen. Or at least that's how I've been playing. I mean, my record speaks for itself.
You're
at
at
this point.
400 wins.
Yeah. I can't believe you've won 200 more expeditions while we recorded this podcast.
I've been playing this whole time on multiple screens. My whole room is just screens playing expeditions right now on hundreds and hundreds of accounts.
I love the imagery of that.
Yeah, someone needs to make fan art of that, by the way, of me just in a room with just hundreds of expeditions going on. But I do think that is generally the case. The other reason why that is the case is because most of the time, with most of the champions, the spell that's created when you draw the second one is a card that synergizes specifically with that champion, or at least if not directly with them, then like adjacent to them. So like, I mean, Tryndamere doesn't technically synergize with himself. It just makes him huge, and it's good with him.
Synergize with himself.
He has overwhelm, so he's just trying to hit really hard.
It's good with himself. Darius is actually, I mean, Darius, it's in the same vein.
Awful.
It's a bad card, but it's in the same vein. Lucian is also the same thing, where it's like, it doesn't, like, it's not a combo with himself, but it's good. It could,
or like Garen, you get Judgment.
Garen is also a good one. Like, well, that does actually synergize with himself, because
I think my best run I've had was I think you were there. Did I have 5 Garens? I don't know if I had 4 or 5.
I don't know if I was there for that. I would have remembered.
I think I had 5 Garens was my best run so far. Like, I just kept getting offered Garens, I just kept taking them.
Yeah. Fiora is the big example of, like, you get Fiora's riposte, and it's like, I pretty much just want as many of those as possible. Braum, also, I'm like, I want every single Braum. I want to draw multiple Brahms a game. So I think that's generally better. It gives you more options. And that's what I've been leaning towards. I've also, like, and this is like tangentially related, I have been leaning towards not going into the third region, because I've been valuing the synergy over the, like, raw power of the spells. I haven't seen, like, the raw power of the spells really play out as much. It would have to be, like, really good. It has to be a really, really good pack.
I think it's situational. Like, if your draft is just ass and, like, the stuff you have is garbage, then maybe, like, getting that Katarina that's in the third round might be good.
Yeah, but the problem is that you only get offered that up to a certain point, and it's, like, too early for things to be bad. And if they are that bad, it's like, you're pick the cards. Like, you pick the cards.
What are you doing?
I'm the guy playing, like, Teemo, Braum, Zed, like, stuff. Like, let's go.
That's the deck I want to see my opponent playing every single time, and I never want to be playing.
You want to play against me every time.
Yeah. But that's my thoughts on that. I am.
Can I ask one last question
Yeah,
before we leave?
yeah, you sure can.
Because this is a question I thought of. Just I don't know why, but I want to ask you guys your opinion on this. What do you think is a card that people are sleeping on that is low key better than we're giving it credit right now? I'm gonna
Oh
give you guys
gosh.
my thing that I think is low key really strong
Uh,
that people aren't playing, and that's I don't know if it's the card itself, but it's the effect of
uh
Purify. So the
Okay.
Demacia 2 mana burst, remove all text and keywords from a follower.
Mm-hmm.
I think that card is low key way better than people think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're gonna see that at least that effect. I think will get printed more and more. It's like Silence and Hearthstone,
Yep.
but being able to remove the text, like text boxes are the game right now, and being able
Mm-hmm.
to remove a text box, I think, is more powerful than people are giving it credit.
Oh
That's
god,
my
yeah,
example.
that's such
I,
a hard question, actually.
Yeah.
I've actually got one because I got blown out by the card.
Okay.
Or like not even blown out in one specific thing, but just like completely outvalued and kind of goes counter to what I was talking about before. So it's probably better because it's making me look like an idiot. It's a 2 card answer, but they kind of go hand in hand. Heimerdinger and Karma are my answers because they are spell based and they generate a ton of value. So when you're playing all these like crappy 1-for-1s and these expensive spells, you're getting something out of them. And like I played an expedition where like I was really aggressive and my opponent was playing a Heimerdinger deck and just had nothing. Like did not have good minions at all, but just had all these things like play the spell that creates a random spell and regenerates your spell mana. And it's like, well, when he plays that, he gets a 3/1 elusive.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can deal with that. And then it's like, oh well, I played a progress day. Now I get a 7/1 barrier. It's like, well, I can beat one of those, and then it's like 2
Yeah.
more things happen. It's like, okay, all of a sudden, yeah, I'm getting
Build a
blown
board out
out
of
by
nowhere.
this. I just like lost to all the bots eventually, just like blocking and trading up
Yep.
and all this stuff. And then Karma is the same way. Like Karma like yes, it's a random effect, but like if it gives you like a card of value, it almost doesn't matter. Like it gives you one
Yeah.
card worth of value. It doesn't even really matter what that card is. You're going to win the long game. And then obviously she's like a combo card when she's leveled up. I think those like one or both of those, and maybe that's with Ezreal as well, like you were saying, Casa, like that
Yeah.
sort of flavor of control combo y type of deck. I think there's some legs there, and it's getting slept on right now.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think because a lot of things that I would say like I probably think are being slept on, I'm starting to see in Diamond when I'm playing.
Yeah,
Because like Ezreal would have been one that I would have said
yeah.
maybe a couple days ago, but I'm seeing Ezreal decks beat my ass now, so I don't know if they're being slept on anymore. I
Right.
think they're pretty good. One thing I've been looking at, and I want to build a deck because I happen to have all of these Yasuos, is not Yasuo, but Fey Blade Twirler, which is a
Ooh.
2-mana 1/3
Yes,
with
that card
quick
is-
attack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which generally, as a body, a 2-mana 1/3 with quick attack isn't great, but 3 health is good. It for
It's a
2 mana
big break
dodges a
point.
lot of removal. It's
Mhm.
a very big break point. And when you stun or recall a unit, it is granted a permanent +2/+0.
Yeah.
So if you get just 1 stun or recall, this becomes a 2-mana 3/3 with quick attack,
Yep.
which is really good.
Mhm.
And it can get out of hand pretty quickly. The thing is I haven't seen a very successful Yasuo deck. Like I've seen
Yeah.
some that like kind of work.
Right.
But I was actually thinking because I had these Yasuos and I was like looking at it and I was like, well, I want to play it. I want to figure out some way for this to work. And I was thinking about the spider deck I was playing and how a lot of the creatures have 2 health. Yasuo, of course, does 2 damage to each stunned target. I was like, well, maybe there's something there. Maybe all these recalls are good versus the flyers with all their buffs.
Mhm.
But everything I've tried so far feels far too slow. I just think if I can figure it out, if I can kind of crack what it needs to go with, I kept trying it with Noxus because they actually have other stuns, but maybe that's where I'm trapping myself, and I need to try Yasuo with other regions, even though Noxus is kind of the obvious one.
Right.
And maybe it can work because I do think that Feyblade Twirler is actually a very strong card. It just, it's like Cursed Keeper, right? Where you can add, 15 other cards that make it good. So it's still fine. And when it really pops off, it's really strong. Just the deck archetype in general feels weak right now. Slow. Yeah, less than.
The funny thing is it gets blown out by all the things that it's doing. It's like one William of Ionia in that card. I mean, it's still a positive exchange probably because they're spending a 4-mana spell to bounce a 2-mana one, but if you're putting your eggs in that basket, it might not be.
Exactly, which is why it has to go in a deck that works even when it doesn't. And that's like I've tried like Flyers, but then it just feels slow and clunky and bogged, and it's just I can't get the right combination. If you have a great Yasuo deck, tweet it at me.
Oh, you need to reach out to Eric Thomas because I'll look at them
deck. And I'll try it. Yeah, I want to see. I'm trying to figure it out, trying to see if it'll work because I've got these Yasuos just sitting there, and I think there's potential. It just hasn't seemed nearly as good as anything else that's been played.
Yeah. Eric Thomas is definitely the Yasuo fanatic. Okay, I found it. I found one more card that I think is slept on. And I've gotten destroyed by it I've used it to great effect in Expedition. I've gotten destroyed by it in Expedition, and when I compare it to another card, I think it starts to make sense. The card is called Emerald Awakener. Either of you know that one? That is the Ionia 2/2 lifesteal for 3. Enlightened. I have +4/+4. That's a
I'm playing him right now.
That's a 6/6 lifestealer. Yeah, I think in a deck that can is a control deck that can get you to that point. Like he's a 3-mana no condition. What's that card called? Radiant Guardian, which is one of the best cards.
If you know Gummy Bear, Gummy God on Twitch.
Yes.
He made a deck recently that I believe is Karma Lux Control, and it runs 3 copies of Emerald Awakener in it.
Oh wow. I need to see that. That sounds spicy.
He really enjoys it. It's incredibly slow and grindy.
Yeah.
So it's probably not a great deck to play on ladder.
It's still on its third game ever.
He's testing it out, trying to figure it out. He's only been able to, like you said, he's been playing for the past 3 days straight and has only completed 4 matches. So it's very slow and grindy.
Yep.
But it does seem like an interesting deck. He says it's a lot of fun. So if you are interested in that card specifically and more control decks, trying out some things that maybe haven't been seen, I would recommend trying to find that list.
Yeah. Well, hey, Casanova, when people want to get at you to give you their Yasuo decks, how can people find you out on the internet?
Yes, they should send me deck picks for Yasuo.
Send your deck picks.
Send deck picks to me at Casanova Hots on Twitter and on Twitch. Yeah, same Casanova Hots on both. I'm streaming Legends of Runeterra like almost every day. Pretty much every day. I don't have a set schedule. I just stream a lot. And so, I'm just grinding the ladder at Diamond, trying to get Master soon, hopefully. But it's a bit of a grind. But yeah, Casanova Hots, that's where you'll find me.
Yeah, it is definitely a little bit of a grind. Saucy, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm just Saucy Mailman all over the internet place. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I've been putting out a ton of YouTube videos for Legends of Runeterra.
And getting featured in .esports articles.
I was in the most recent .esports article about Legends of Runeterra streamers to follow. So they listed me in their top 5. That was really cool because .esports is awesome. And the most important thing is we do have finally up and registered. If you go to DeckPics.Live, it'll take you to the Runeterrable website. So DeckPics.Live, I'm the proud owner of that one. Best URL ever.
True. Yes. Go to DeckPics.Live and send us your deck picks. We want to see them, please, in their full majesty. We need to see your deck picks. Go to DeckPics.Live there. All of our links are there. Also, the best place to find us is going to be at discord.me/Runeterrable Radio. The Discord is absolutely popping off. We've got tons of people in there. We've got lots of discussions, all that stuff. And it's just been great. We did right before the show. I found we hit 300 followers on Twitter, which is awesome. At Runeterrable on Twitter. Was not expecting that. So thank you everyone who has been following the show. We've gotten a ton of positive feedback. And we really appreciate it, and we love you guys. So that is going to be it for this episode. Shout outs again, and thank you to Casanova for coming on. You are welcome back anytime you'd like. Saucy, you are also great and also a host of this show. So of course,
am I welcome back?
You don't have a choice. You have to be back.
Damn it.
Yeah, me too. We're stuck here. We are forever locked in eternity here at Runeterrable Radio, but that's a pretty great place to be. And we hope that you guys join us here and be back here next week, as the meta will probably have changed another 150 times. But until then, I don't know. Do we have an outro thing? I don't think we do.
No.
Well,
until then, you're great.
Until then, you're great. We'll see you next week.